"You're not welcome here," Lila said, her finger cutting the air. Music stopped. Every pair of eyes turned to me. Magnolia Hall's logo glowed above the arch, bright and cold. Evan stood beside her, staring at the floor. He said nothing. The silence hurt more than the words. I steadied my purse with both hands. Inside lay the $50,000 check I had written. It covered flowers, lighting, photography, and the band. It was meant for Joy, not this. I looked across the polished floor I had paid to rent. I knew the weight of every invoice in my binder. Magnolia Hall is valued at $1.2 million. Monroe Holdings LLC holds the deed. I am a co-owner. I did not explain that to the room. I did not defend myself to a chorus of whispers. I lifted my chin and walked past the rows of chairs. The logo followed me like a spotlight. Evan still did not speak. I reached the door and felt the brass handle cool against my palm. I did not slam it. I closed it carefully so the sound would carry. It landed like a period at the end of a sentence. The rehearsal would continue without me. My dignity would leave with me. I sat in the car, watching my phone tremble hard. Messages stacked relentlessly, tighter, louder, like fingernails on glass tonight. Evan's name blinked. Lila's bubbles kept blooming, then bursting endlessly. I inhaled once, holding the breath until my hands steadied. I tapped Harper's contact and felt the cabin go still. She answered softly. Rehearsal noise curled around her careful words. "Harper," I said, "listen closely and write this down now. I'm canceling everything." I spoke before doubt could grow teeth. Terminate venue, florist, caterer, band, photographer, lighting, and rentals today. Email confirmations to me. Archive every reply and vendor response. Confirm receipt, I said, as blue light hardened my face. I laid the green binder flat on the kitchen table. Tabs marked venue, florist, catering, band, photography, lighting, rentals, insurance. I opened contracts and scrolled through PDFs mirrored on screen. Magnolia Hall letterhead gleamed, crisp, formal, indifferent to feelings today. Client of record, Monroe Holdings LLC, attention, Zelda Monroe only. Billing address mine, payments mine, emergency contact mine, responsibility mine. Cancellation terms allowed written termination by the listed client alone. Deposits forfeit upon breach, detailed in numbered, unemotional clauses below. No transfer permitted without notarized owner consent, verified by ID. I read each line like a locksmith checks tumblers, patient. Every invoice, every signature, mine, documented twice in cool, permanent ink. I highlighted fine print and saved redundant backups to storage. Paper decides reality when people refuse to respect boundaries properly. I dialed Mr. Benton at Magnolia Hall and introduced myself. "This is Zelda Monroe, client of record for the booking. I'm calling with written instruction to terminate our date today." He requested identifiers. I read the contract number and deposit. Monroe Holdings, LLC, June reservation, confirmation codes, and payment references. "Understood," he said. "Processing now. Email confirmation will follow shortly." "I'm within my rights," I replied, letting the words settle. I opened my checklist and started down the vendor column. Florist. Terminate services. Confirm forfeiture. Release the calendar immediately today. Caterer. Cancel kitchen prep and staff. Send the final statement. Band and photographer. Remove access. Pull from schedule. Acknowledge receipt. Lighting and rentals. Revoke delivery windows. Archive all confirmations tonight. Each call landed cleanly, like dominoes tipping across polished marble. I opened the PDF folder and enlarged the fine print. Magnolia Hall letterhead sat sharp, blue, and cold. Billing party, Monroe Holdings LLC. Attention, Zelda Monroe. Client of record, Zelda Monroe. Authorized signer and payer only. Deposits are forfeited upon breach per Section 8, subsections A-D. Cancellation may be issued by the listed client in writing. No transfer permitted without notarized owner consent and ID. Vendor access requires confirmation from the client email on file. I traced my initials beside each page like quiet seals. Screenshots saved to backups, labeled by date, time, and vendor. The phone flashed again. I let it blink and fade. I was the client, not Lila, not Evan. Paper does not argue. It records, decides, and closes doors. Headlights crawled across my living room curtains and stopped. Footsteps hit the porch boards, nervous, uneven, and loud. The doorbell rang, then knocking, then harder knocking again. "Mom, open up," Evan said, voice frayed and breathless. I stood still and let the silence build pressure. The phone buzzed, then buzzed again, then filled with pleading. I watched the handle stir slightly under his impatient grip. He tried the code. I had changed every code. "Please," he said. "We need to talk about tonight." I looked at the wood grain and counted to 10. The porch light held him in a clear, unforgiving circle. "I saw what you did," he said, almost whispering. "You embarrassed us. Lila is furious. People are talking already." I unlocked the deadbolt. I kept the chain in place. The door opened 2 inches. Air moved between us slowly. His eyes were red. His tie was crooked and limp. "Give me the binder," he said. "We'll fix this together." "No," I said. "We will not fix this together." He winced like the words had weight and sharp edges. "That money was ours," he said. "The venue was ours." My voice stayed low, steady, and cold as carved stone. "No, Evan, it wasn't yours. It never was," I said. I closed the door gently. The chain slid back tight. The porch went quiet. The car idled. The night listened. Let the quiet finish it. The calls started again before I reached the lamp. Unknown numbers, private numbers, then Evan, then Lila again. I put the phone on the counter and let it ring. I answered and set it to speaker on low. "Say it," I said. "Say what you want from me." "We need you to reverse the cancellations," Evan said, rushing. "The florist can still do it if we move fast." "You want me to erase what happened inside Magnolia Hall? You want me to pay so you can pretend it's fine?" Silence, then breathing. His voice tried to sound brave. "Mom, please. It's not that serious. Lila said dumb things." She was stressed. She didn't mean the way it sounded. "She meant it," I said. "She enjoyed every second of it." "We can fix the tone online," he said, softer now. "It was my gift, and now it's gone," I said flatly. "I will not fund my humiliation, not for one picture." The line clicked. A new call forced itself between us. Lila's voice slid in, honeyed and sharp at the edges. "You ruined our rehearsal," she said. "Own it and fix it. You embarrassed your son. Everyone saw you storm out angry." "I didn't storm," I said. "I left, quiet and calm." "You owe us," she said. "We deserve a perfect wedding day." I let the timer climb. I let the silence expand. "You used my card," I said. "You planned a transfer. You tried to move approvals you never owned or earned. You're paranoid," she said. "You misread everything like always." "I guard what I pay for," I said, "and I decide. Reverse it, or I'll make you sorry," she said, hissing. I pressed end. The kitchen fell still and very clean. I preferred receipts over noise. The door opened before the bell rang twice. Evan stepped in fast, breath sharp, eyes rimmed red. I stood in the hallway, between him and the kitchen. "You're in my house," I said. "Use your voice carefully." He swallowed. His jaw worked, then slackened. "You canceled everything," he said. "Lila is humiliated." "She humiliated herself," I said. "She staged it. We need you to undo it. Call the planner." I shook my head once. "I've stopped funding my own humiliation," I said. "That's over." He paced, fingers dragging across the chair's worn back. "This is my wedding," he said. "You're making it about you." It became about me when I was told to leave. "You love me," he said. "Don't wreck this for us." "I love you enough to stop enabling your silence," I said. "This isn't silence, this is punishment," he said. "This is a boundary," I said. "It keeps rot out." "Lila will apologize tomorrow. Let the vendors return." "She can apologize to those she insulted," I said. "Not me." He stepped closer. I did not retreat. He stopped. "What do you want?" he asked. "Tell me the price." "Respect is the price," I said. "I won't bargain it." His shoulders fell. "You should sleep," I said. "Leave the key on the hook." "Go rest." I opened the door and waited. He walked past slowly. The latch clicked. The room held still around me. Morning settled gray across the counter and the clean sink. My phone buzzed, then stopped, then buzzed again, longer. Evan's message appeared bright as a flare in fog. "That's why Dad left," he wrote. "You drove him away." The line felt rehearsed, borrowed from someone who needed it. I set the phone down and breathed through the sting. Another text arrived, then a recording filled with heavy sighs. I did not play it. I knew the pattern already. Guilt me. Soften me. Make me pay again today. I opened the front door and let in the air. The porch carried the smell of rain and cut grass. Evan's car rolled up and idled by the steps. He climbed out and tried for brave, then failed. Words crowded his mouth and fought each other for exit. I lifted my hand. The porch light made a circle. "You should go," I said. "We're done for today." He stared past my shoulder, searching for that soft kitchen. He found a boundary instead. It did not move. "I am your mother," I said, "not your bank. Tell Lila the same." I closed the door and waited. The phone rang again. Caroline's name filled the screen. I answered. She was already mid-lesson on kindness. "Be the bigger person," she said. "They're young. Emotions run high." "Fix it for family," she added. "This is one weekend." "That phrase has a price," I said. "I have paid enough." She tried stories about Sunday, neighbors, and the church committee. I let her talk until the story emptied itself quietly. They ruined it when they treated me like a stranger. Silence. Then a small cough and shifting paper on her desk. "You're serious," she said. "You'll make them suffer for this." "I'm refusing to fund my disrespect," I said. "That's all." "For Evan's sake, once?" she asked. "Let it slide today." "For Evan's sake," I said. "The answer stays no." I set the phone down. The house stood clear and calm. She sighed, a door easing shut between neighbors. "Family forgives," she said. "That is what keeps families whole. Accountability keeps them whole," I said. "Forgiveness follows truth." She paused, recalculated, and tried a softer lane with smaller words. Then Martin called, voice smooth, practiced, and faintly amused. "I heard there was drama," he said. "Don't make it worse. Let them have their day," he added, warm as a lecture. The old cadence dropped over me like a familiar coat. "Translation?" I asked, keeping my tone even and dry. "That you should step back," he said. "Stop making this difficult. Your son needs peace. Do not ruin his wedding." "You mean pay and be quiet," I said. Again, a pause. "Be the bigger person," he replied, gentle, polished. "That's code for keep paying and keep quiet," I said. He sighed like a banker closing a drawer. "Perspective matters." "Perspective follows the bill," I said. "I know who paid." "You're stubborn," he said. "You always push a point too far." "I held the line," I said. "That line protects me." "You taught Evan to avoid conflict," I added, softer now. "He learned to leave women holding the bill and the blame." "Unfair," he said. "You're rewriting history because you're angry." "I'm precise," I said. "The receipts are on my desk." "He loves her," he said. "Don't break this before it begins." "I didn't break it," I said. "Disrespect broke it clean." "You always wanted the last word," he said, almost laughing. "Then let this be the last," I said, still calm. "Quiet doesn't mean weak." The words fit like a key. "You'll regret this," he said. "People remember scenes like today." "They do," I said. "They also remember who paid for them." "Make it right," he said, resorting to command at last. "Right means boundaries," I said. "That is what I'm making." I thanked him for calling and ended the conversation cleanly. His certainty filled the line the way paint fills cracks. I let it sit there. I did not rush to fill it. The window gave back my face, steady, unsmiling, awake. A neighbor walked a dog. The leash drew a simple line. Steam lifted from my cup and coiled in the light. I looked at the green binder and felt steadier inside. There are two kinds of quiet. One is fear. The other is a tool, steady as paper and ink. I chose the second and let the first pass by. The silence felt earned, not empty. It held firm. I carried the green binder into Miriam's quiet office. She greeted me with a measured nod and clear eyes. We sat at a glass table that reflected paper edges. "I need everything run through you," I said. She opened a yellow pad and drew a clean line. "Walk me through the contracts," she said. "Start with venue." I placed the Magnolia Hall agreement on the table first. "Client of record?" she asked, tapping the signature block twice. "Monroe Holdings, LLC. Attention Zelda Monroe," I answered. She checked my identification, then nodded. "Me," I said. "All payments originated from my account." She read the termination clause and underlined the operative sentence. "Written notice by listed client," she said. "That is you." She turned to florist, caterer, band, photography, lighting, and rentals. "Every contract is in your name," she said at last. "We'll route all communications through counsel from this moment." "No direct contact," I said. "Everything in writing. Archive everything." Miriam nodded. "I'll circulate notices and preserve responses today." I exhaled. The room felt larger, orderly, and on my side. By noon, the emails shifted from pleading to imitation. It demanded transfer of vendor approvals to Evan and Lila. The subject line copied my phrasing and even my punctuation. Miriam's assistant flagged it within minutes and called my phone. "We're seeing spoofing," she said. "Do you authorize any transfer?" "I do not," I said. "Route all parties through counsel." We met by video and reviewed a short authorization letter. It named Miriam as point of contact for every contract. It directed vendors to ignore any instruction not originating from her. We added a preservation clause for messages, files, and recordings. I signed with a steady hand and saved the PDF. "Turn on expanded logging," Miriam said. "We want time and device." Her paralegal prepared requests to DocuSign and the venue portal. I forwarded Harper a simple note she could show vendors. "They'll be speaking to me, not you," I wrote. She replied with a single thumbs up and a time-stamped checklist. We copied the insurance broker and asked for correspondence history. We asked vendors to confirm the registered client email. By 3, confirmations accumulated in a neat, undeniable, orderly stack. Spoof attempts kept coming, louder, then strangely polite and reasonable. I let them arrive. Logging would catch every step they took. That evening, Lila went live, smiling with perfect lighting. She called me controlling, dramatic, and unstable about spending. She framed Magnolia Hall as their venue ruined by jealousy. Comments flew fast, some cheering, some asking awkward money questions. I watched without typing a single public word tonight. Instead, I started taking screenshots with timestamps and usernames. I recorded the audio in case captions drifted. Then I opened a private thread and wrote to Evan. I offered a single harmless sentence only he would see. Harper found a cheaper backup venue on River Street. I added nothing else. No link, no contact or date. I waited, counting breaths, and saved the message receipt. Minutes later, Lila repeated that exact sentence on her story, word for word, same phrasing, same detail about River. I took 3 screenshots and emailed them to Miriam. "Noted," she replied. "Keep gathering." Harper texted that DocuSign showed an approval transfer in queue. It was stuck pending owner authentication and flagged for review. She also saw attempts to change contact fields to Evan. I asked her to hold steady and log every alert. "Copy me on any vendor emails," I added, calm. The stream kept going, louder, breathless, then teary. I kept saving. I kept my profile quiet and still. Prefer proof. Proof speaks clean when rooms get loud. Mr. Benton called 1 hour after my notice went out. "Status check," he said. "Vendors are asking about payment now." "Proceed per contract," I said. "Release the date if needed." "Who will pay now?" His voice was careful, not cruel. "Not me," I said. "Not until respect returns in full." He promised written confirmation by email. The florist replied first, withdrawing crews and reclaiming the slot. Then the caterer, the band, the photographer, lighting, and rentals. Each message cited my contract number and the termination clause. I filed them into a dated folder labeled Cancellations. The insurance broker rang next, brisk and sympathetic by habit. "We can move the event policy to Lila's name," she said. "We only need the owner's consent to proceed with transfer." "Policy needs owner consent," I said. I declined. "Understood," she said. "Without consent, the policy is void." "Declined. I'm the owner of record," I said, ending it. I logged the call and typed a summary for Miriam. Minutes later, an auto email marked the policy as void. Lila tried calling, then texting, then promising she'd fix the tone. I let the phone face down and cooled my tea. Magnolia Hall's calendar refreshed, brighter where our date once lived. Consequences arrived in order, like papers sliding into place. Today, I opened my email archive and searched the Amex thread. A subject line flashed, "Maldives honeymoon booking, payment authorization." The body listed a package total of $26,000. It referenced card ending 3921, my business account. Dates matched the week after the planned ceremony at Magnolia Hall. Hotel deposit, seaplane transfer, and spa dinners were pre-approved. I scrolled lower and found a forwarded request from Lila. She had written, "Use Zelda's card. She promised this months ago." Below that, Evan replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Neither message copied me. I saved the thread, printed to PDF, and tagged it financial. Next, Harper's note about DocuSign appeared in my inbox. The document was titled, "Approval Transfer, Vendor Access, and Control." The sender field showed Lila's address. The recipient listed Evan. It invited my signature but routed through an unknown device first. Metadata showed a mismatched signature overlay and failed verification attempt. The venue portal logs flagged a change to client contact fields. The requested edit tried to replace my email with Evan's. A second attempt re-entered Lila's number as the emergency line. I took screenshots of each flag and circled timestamps in red. Then I opened my statements and scanned recent luxury charges. Designer shoes, tasting menus, white glove delivery for floral samples. Each charge pulled from the same ending 3921. The rhythm felt coordinated and strangely confident. They expected me to keep paying and keep quiet forever. I placed the statements beside the honeymoon email and DocuSign queue. They planned to seize approvals, spend freely, and push me out. They used my name, my card, and my signature blocks. It was a heist, measured in receipts instead of masks. And it was a hostile takeover, built from stolen clicks. I labeled a folder, Takeover, and moved the evidence inside. Then I sent Miriam the packet with a single line. "Summary attached," I wrote. "Proof of spending and access attempts." Her reply arrived within minutes. Received, preparing responses. At dusk, the phone lit again with Evan's name. I let it roll to voicemail. His voice cracked, then steadied into outrage. "You made me look weak," he said. "Fix this now." "No wonder Dad left you," he said, breath pushing hard. I saved the file and deleted it. Being alone is better than being used. I opened my notebook and wrote a fresh checklist. Miriam picked up on the first ring, calm as ever. "We're moving to the next protocol," I said. "Good," she answered. "Tell me what you have." "Spending on Amex 3921, I said. "DocuSign transfer attempt, signature mismatch, and vendor contact edits. Social clips repeating a private message from my account. And harassment calls plus the voicemail I just received." "Understood," she said. "We'll formalize and send preservation letters." We drafted disputes for unauthorized charges and filed them online. We added a fraud report and attached screenshots and logs. Her paralegal prepared letters to vendors and the insurance broker. Each letter demanded retention of emails, texts, and call recordings. We revoked user access on every shared planning portal. We changed admin passwords and rotated all recovery methods. I set new pins for cards and the venue account. I froze the joint account that showed $7,500. I moved the binder to a locked drawer. Miriam dictated phrasing, spare and exact and durable. "Preserve everything," she said. "We want IP, device, and time." "Copy the fire marshal if safety becomes relevant," she added. "Copy DocuSign compliance for the signature overlay flag." We created a central log for entries. For each action, I wrote date, time, and response received. Harper confirmed she would mirror the record. I silenced unknown callers and left favorites on emergency only. The house grew quiet and plain. I made tea and cleaned the counter. Then I checked the door, the chain, and porch light. The night held steady. Procedure replaced noise. I could breathe again. I backed up the log and shut the laptop down. Morning brought a clear list and a firmer hand. Miriam called early. Her tone was brisk and steady. "Ready to formalize," she said. "Read me your notes." I opened the log and summarized each entry by line. Unauthorized charges tied to Amex 3921. Approval transfer queued in DocuSign, flagged for mismatch. Venue portal edits tried to swap my contact fields. Harassment calls, texts, and that voicemail saved then deleted. Private bait repeated publicly within minutes, word for word. Miriam listened without breaking the tempo of her pen. "Good," she said. "We elevate and define the conduct." Header: Cease and desist. Preservation demand. Notice. The letter named Lila and Evan. It listed harassment, defamation, unauthorized funds, impersonation. It required all parties preserve emails, texts, and calls. It demanded retention of files, portals, and logs. It warned that deletion would be treated as willful spoliation. I supplied dates, times, and links to supporting materials. We attached screenshots, PDFs, and a short narrative summary. Miriam reviewed the packet and tightened 3 sentences. "Consider it handled," she said. "Sending certified and email." I called the bank and froze the joint account. The amount held at $7,500. I revoked every secondary card permission on my profile. I requested a credit lock and fraud alerts across bureaus. Next, I asked DocuSign for audit trails by document. We requested IP, device model, and time of each attempt. We asked for signature images and overlay error codes. We requested venue portal logs with user and timestamp fields. We added carrier records for calls and voicemail. We asked the florist, caterer, and planner for records too. Miriam filed mirror requests as counsel of record. I saved each receipt in the log as separate entries. The paper moved the way it should. Forward, exact, durable. By noon, the storm felt smaller than the process holding it. Near noon, Harper sent a warning. "Warehouse by the river, tonight." A trusted vendor overheard rushed plans and cash delivery. She attached a pin and 2 blurry photos. No permits. Short lease. Generator on taped cords. 1 exit already blocked by rented partitions. I opened the map. The warehouse sat off a narrow lane and dock. I pictured candles, guests, a chained side door. I called Harper and asked 3 questions. Occupancy? Fire inspection? Emergency lighting? She read the notes, low and steady. No assembly certificate on file. No inspection within 12 months. Temporary power along taped floor runs. 1 exit obstructed by staging equipment. I logged each item with time and source. Then I searched the city database for the parcel. The record listed storage use only, not events. I captured the zoning reference. Next, I skimmed fire code for assembly spaces. I highlighted egress and aisle width requirements. I created a folder named Compliance, Photos, Forms, Logs. I called the non-emergency line for procedure. The clerk gave steps and a case number. "Provide documentation," she said. "Submit safety notes." "Thank you," I said. "I will file." I closed the blinds and cleared the table. Tonight they would try a show without rules. I would not attend. I would ensure no one burned. I opened the city portal and started a report. Address, parcel ID, description, attachments. I entered the warehouse location and cross street. I attached Harper's photos with timestamps. I added zoning and assessor screenshots. I uploaded the policy notice marked void. I attached the DocuSign queue for approval transfer. I included my log of calls and texts. Description: blocked exits, taped cords, no inspection on record, estimated head count, candles, obstructed aisle, generator route. Role: owner of record for Magnolia Hall, not attending, submitting for public safety. I paused and set my intention in one line. I'm not ruining her day, I'm preventing a disaster. I called the fire marshal for confirmation. A deputy asked for the case number. I gave it and spelled the street twice. He asked about exits and temporary power. I read notes without commentary. "Thank you," he said. "Keep distance tonight." "Understood," I said. "Safety first, records preserved," and I clicked submit and waited in silence. A receipt number appeared with a seal. I emailed Miriam the packet and receipt. She replied, "Filed and mirrored. Keep logging." Harper texted that vendors would hold and archive alerts. I called non-emergency for an operations contact. They gave a direct number. I checked the latch and dimmed the light. Process moved forward, cool and lawful tonight. I stayed home. I let the log run quietly. I brewed tea. I kept the porch light low. Across town, engines idled by the river. A generator coughed into a long, uneven breath. Guests drifted through a loading door dressed with gauze. A clipboard appeared under a steady hand. Reflective stripes cut the dark like careful knives. "Permits?" someone asked, calm and firm, near the door. Voices stumbled. A cable hissed under a taped seam. "Show occupancy!" Paper rattled. The aisle measured too narrow. The side exit carried a padlock and a ribbon. A marshal traced the cord toward the humming box. He touched the housing once. He frowned and wrote. He read the notes against the posted code. He lifted his chin and spoke so everyone heard. "This event is not permitted. You're shut down." The room fractured. Lila shouted words that broke apart midair. Evan's phone lit his face, a pale, defeated blue. Staff killed the music. Candles went out in ragged waves. People looked for doors that suddenly mattered. A seal ran across the entry like a final line. The clipboard clicked. The night sighed and held. I did not post. I did not cheer. I washed the cup. I set it upside down to dry. I checked the chain. I updated the log. I wrote the time and the report number. Process did its work. No one burned tonight. Morning turned bright, then brighter, then sharp. Posts multiplied fast. A venue tech confirmed the client name. "It's Zelda," he wrote. "She paid every invoice." Another thread asked about the insurance line. Someone answered, "Policy went void without owner consent." Screenshots stacked under the comments like tiles. The River Street sentence surfaced on Lila's story again. Same words, same order, same small mistake. Only Evan had seen that message from me. I saved 3 angles and their timestamps. I forwarded them to Miriam without commentary. "Receipts don't lie," I wrote in the subject. People started asking, who tried the transfer? A planner account mentioned an approval transfer in queue. It showed a mismatch and a failed device check. A second post noted attempts to edit contact fields. The replies turned cool, then colder, then clinical. "She bit the hand that funded the party," someone said. I did not join the pile. I archived the threads. I labeled each file with date, source, and claim. My profile stayed quiet and kind. Proof speaks clean when rooms get loud. By noon, my inbox shimmered with red receipts. Vendors confirmed cancellation and archival compliance. Then a subject line landed with calm heft. "Magnolia Hall, booking status," it read in blue. I opened it and felt the air steady. "Your former date has been rebooked." The sentence sat centered, plain, and exact. Mr. Benton attached a confirmation and a ledger clip. The calendar showed a new couple in our place. I studied the grid until it looked ordinary again. The deposit line showed as forfeited per clause. The services lines displayed as canceled with codes. Each code matched the contract sections I had marked. I saved the email to the timeline and backups. I added a short note for context and clarity. Status final, I wrote. Date released and reassigned. I thanked Mr. Benton for the professional notice. He replied quickly, wishing me a quiet afternoon. I closed the laptop and set my phone down. I stood by the window and let stillness return. The day felt simple again, like stacked paper. I watered the plant and watched the leaves shine. Consequences held. The grid held. So did I. Before evening, a new email slid into view. The subject struck a sweet, sour chord. "We forgive you," it said, "if you behave." I opened it and read the first paragraph twice. Evan's name stood under Lila's paragraphs like a prop. The message invited me back on certain conditions. Smile for photos. Do not make scenes. Approve payments immediately. Admit I misunderstood the rehearsal comments last night. We'll let you sit front row, the letter added. It offered absolution from a stage I had paid for. I walked to the sink and rinsed a glass. The words kept their shape, even under running water. They asked me to fund the story and forget mine. They asked me to stand small inside my own house. I sat down and read it once more, slower. I pictured the binder and the signatures in black. I pictured the calendar square now holding different names. I pictured the blue word, void, across the policy line. I closed the laptop without typing a single reply. They didn't deserve a response. I chose quiet that did not serve them. I chose quiet that guarded the door and the mind. The inbox stayed open, patient, and very calm. The plant lifted a new leaf toward the light. The clock ticked, ordinary and forgiving, above the shelf. Boundaries held. The evening held. So did I. The sweet faced the water. Morning opened the room slowly. I drew the curtains back and let the light in. It moved across the glass like careful hands at work. Steam drifted from a cup that asked for nothing. I cradled the cup and felt my shoulders loosen. Salt air pressed against the windows and then released. I took one picture, framed it tight and simple. Best decision I ever made, I typed beneath it. No tags, no names, no victory. Just light. The post went up, and then I set the phone down. The balcony door clicked, clean and soft and final. Boats stitched thin seams across the water and vanished. Far below, a child laughed. Then the sound fell away. I breathed with the tide until my chest steadied. I let my jaw unclench and stay unclenched. Across town, Magnolia Hall belonged to a different family. Another mother checked corsages and tucked a thread back. Her day would hold. Mine did not need to. The old calendar square now carried different letters. I read them once and felt nothing sharp. Not grief, not anger. A quiet seam well stitched. I opened the green binder on the side table. Labels faced the same direction. Tabs sat in calm rows. Invoices rested like bricks, heavy and squared to corners. The policy line read, void, in patient blue type. The vendor thread slept in dated folders, unbothered and complete. Paper holds when people do not. Paper held today. My phone rolled once, felt like a heartbeat, then stopped. I turned it face down and let the silence expand. The sweet smelled faintly of lemon and ironed cotton. I rinsed the cup and set it upside down. Beads of water clung to the porcelain and waited. I remembered the woman who smiled through insult to keep peace. She opened her wallet when voices grew sharp and careless. She stayed so the room would not turn ugly. I spoke to her now. Thank you for endurance. You carried us across rivers I could not see then. You kept the roof and the lights when storms pressed hard. You are allowed to rest. I will take it from here. A gull crossed the glass and left no mark. I took another breath and felt a new floor form. Not anger, not victory, a steady surface underfoot. I changed the sheets, square corners, tight and easy. I wiped the table and let the grain wake up. I opened the balcony and counted the whitecaps out loud. 1, 2, 3. The number calmed my hands. A push notification blinked, then slid away unread. I did not chase it. I let it pass. Peace came in small tasks. Peace arrived like stacking paper. Email. Archive. Water the plant. Close the drawer. I wrote one sentence in my log and dated it. Kept distance today. Chose stillness. Chose clear air and light. Then I thought of Evan as a boy on the pier. He held the rail too tight and pretended not to. I loosened his fingers and showed him how to lean. Trust the wood, bend your knees, let the water move. He laughed and asked for a coin to throw far. We watched circles widen and slip under each other. I closed that picture carefully and returned to the room. I was not the villain he had learned to name. I was the mother who kept the house from fire. I was the woman who paid and then drew lines. I was not the enemy of love. I protected it. Love starves without respect. Respect lives inside a clean boundary. My phone rolled again. It was a calendar reminder. Nothing urgent. Water the plant. Walk after lunch. 2 small things, both within my control and reach. I ate a pear and let the juice run clean. I washed the knife and watched water purl and fall. I folded the towel and smoothed the cotton flat. Across town, doors closed, opened, and closed again. Hands carried flowers. Shoes learned to be quiet. A friend texted a gentle check-in and a small heart. I wrote back a simple thank you and a picture. No explanation, no defense. The sea made my case. I stood on the balcony and did nothing important, nothing except guard the peace I had chosen. It felt like a new muscle I had finally found. I held it with care and did not flex too hard. I let the room end in order, not in noise. The plant lifted a new leaf toward the window. Light found the vein and traced it end to end. I placed the binder back on the shelf and turned. I saw a pair of shoes I no longer needed. I boxed them for donation and wrote the date on tape. I do not wear pain just because it fits. Not anymore. Not again. Not today. I sat and watched the water level stay. When the hour turned, I felt the prize arrive. Peace for its own sake. Peace as the point. Not a ribbon. Not applause. A room that breathes. I pressed my palm to the glass and held still. There was my face. Older, steady, awake. There was the woman who decided to stop paying for harm. I told her she could keep the room. She did, and the room kept her. By morning, the feed was a moving ledger. Names, times, screenshots, and small sentences built a spine. "Didn't she pay?" one account asked in plain words. A venue tech answered with care and without heat. "She did," he wrote. "Client of record, Zelda Monroe." A photo of a contract header followed like proof. Someone circled the line in blue and tagged the date. A planner thread explained how portals protect registered clients. Contact edits require owner verification and matching devices. A screenshot showed a failed change with a red border. The comments turned from gossip into procedure. "Who tried to switch the email fields?" someone asked. "Why was the policy voided?" Another account pressed. A broker replied, "No owner consent. Transfer not permitted." The word void reappeared in white against a blue form. A band manager wrote a short account without blame. "Our contract named Zelda, no secondary payer authorized." "We released the date after formal termination." A florist added, "We advised the rule at proposal stage. No change without written approval from the listed client." The tone was professional and stubbornly factual. No perfume, no theater, just rules doing their work. Then the rehearsal quote arrived again in clean type. "You're not welcome here." It sat unadorned and sharp. Under it, a stranger posted a quiet line. "I hope my kids never speak to me like that." A second stranger replied with a simple step list. Booking, payment, public insult, cancellations, insurance, shutdown, receipts. No caps, no emojis, no extra sugar. The thread walked itself forward like an audit. Another voice asked about the shutdown by the river. A small account linked the city notice and a time. Inspection found blocked exits and taped cords, it read. Event halted. Safety protocols enforced. Case number attached. I watched and did not speak. I let other hands set the table right. In one corner of the feed, a rumor tried to stand. "She stormed out in anger," it said. It was dramatic. A woman replied with a sentence that felt like glass. "I saw her leave," she wrote. She closed the door gently. No defense, no attack, a small piece of truth. The rumor lost air and folded back into itself. Under a planner's post, I saw a familiar sentence. Harper found a cheaper backup venue on River Street. Same words, same order, same small comma mistake. Only Evan had read that message from me. The room tasted like metal for 1 second. I saved 3 angles and archived each with care. I forwarded them to Miriam without commentary or color. The subject line held 4 simple words. Receipts do not lie. A musician posted a photo from Magnolia Hall. Different couple, different smiles, same clean light. The caption wished them grace and a steady dance floor. I liked the photo and kept moving. I would not tap fire on wounds that were not mine. I scrolled past blame and stopped at a sentence that mattered. Paper protects everyone when tempers run hot, it read. A second line followed. Boundaries keep love from drowning. I turned the phone face down and let the words settle. In the kitchen, the clock ticked like a measured heart. I watered the plant and watched the soil drink slowly. My hands carried a quiet that did not ache. It carried weight. It carried decision. I opened the window and let air move the curtains. I remembered the balcony light on the night I signed. Owner of record, contact of record, payer of record. The way ink dries and decides where shoulders rest. I let the feed do its learning and its counting. I did the dishes and wiped the edge of the sink. A friend sent a picture of a blue sky. No words. I answered with an oak leaf on my sill. Outside, a dog tugged a leash and laughed into the wind. The rooms of my life stayed in order. That is a kind of music you hear with your hands. By afternoon, the professionals spoke like a panel in daylight. The florist posted a quiet note beneath a white peony. We advised the client of record rule in our proposal. Approval changes require a signed owner update. Our team will not proceed without that signature. Words so simple they disappeared into the page. A caterer followed with a square of clean kitchen steel. For safety, emergency contacts must remain as contracted. Portal flagged attempts to replace them. Verification failed. We logged the alerts and notified the client of record. A band manager wrote in small, careful lines, "We released the calendar per the termination clause. No refunds available after breach of conditions." A photographer added a shot of an empty stool. Certificate of insurance listed the owner's LLC only. Transfer request triggered a void notice at the broker. Underneath, people asked practical questions instead of throwing stones. How do you confirm the owner's email? Where do the codes map to clauses? Vendors answered with small arrows and patient screens. Numbers matched dates. Codes matched lines. The thread felt like a ledger opening itself in public. In a side thread, a planner described device checks. The portal expects the owner's known devices. Unknown devices get flagged and must pass review. Failed overlay means the system cannot match a signature image. A woman replied with a single sentence that landed clean. "This is how grown-ups handle business," she wrote. No one fought her under that line. I filed each post by vendor in my archive. I labeled them with dates and direct links. I added 3 tags to each entry for search. When the folder closed, my shoulders fell an inch. The house made a small sound as if it exhaled. I brewed new tea and watched steam lift and fade. I remembered the day I taught Evan to balance a checkbook. He kept rushing to the total and losing his place. I showed him how to track one line at a time. I showed him how small numbers tell a large story. He liked the coins more than the columns that day. Life forgives that in children. Life punishes that in grown men. A message arrived from a neighbor who had seen the rehearsal. "It was wrong," she wrote. "I'm sorry you stood there alone." I thanked her for the note and returned to the sink. I am not alone, I thought. I have paper. Paper sits still when rooms shake. Paper lets breath return. I rinsed a glass and listened to the ordinary tick. The world did not end last night. It changed, and then it kept going. I chose not to hold it back with money. I chose to let it go and hold myself instead. My hands did not tremble anymore. They knew the work. And the work was simple. Wash, rinse, archive, close. Keep the room, keep the rule, keep the peace. Miriam's subject line was only one word: forensics. I opened the packet and felt the air go cool. First page, audit trails for the portal and signatures. Device IDs sat in a neat column beside times. 2 attempts marked within 8 minutes after my cancellations. Both routed through a laptop under Lila's profile. Signature overlay failed. Geolocation mismatch flagged in red. Below that, a table of rejected contact edits appeared. Requested change, replace my email with his. System response, owner authorization required, not provided, change denied. Next page listed IP ranges for 2 locations, her apartment, her office. Times matched the late-night calls. Carrier logs followed with a short gray transcript. Breathing, silence, hang up. Another call, hang up. Then the voicemail with the line I already logged. No wonder Dad left you. The file matched the time. Miriam's summary stood tight and unadorned under the tables. Logs are unambiguous, she wrote. Retain and copy to discovery. I highlighted each line and cross-referenced my own notes. Dates matched, devices matched. Times sat flush to minutes. At the end, a portal status screen faced me. Owner of record, Zelda Monroe. Authority, full. A final line below it read, attempted takeover recorded. A small window reflected my face and the room behind me, older, steadier, less interested in being liked for paying. The feeling that followed was not joy and not heat. It was structure returning. It was weight settling correctly. Truth had edges. Truth had timestamps. Truth did not shout. I emailed back 1 sentence and 1 request. Proceed, I wrote. Draft the next steps and deadlines. Miriam replied with a time and a short checklist. We had enough proof to move on calm feet. I set the laptop aside and stood at the window. A cloud crossed the water and then broke apart. The light repaired itself without any apology. I thought of my mother and a phrase she loved. Count the beans before you stir the soup. She meant it kindly, and she meant it exactly. Numbers sit first, flavor sits second. I smiled and let the sentence break against my teeth. A new email appeared from a law firm I did not know. They acknowledged our notice and asked for documents. We attached the packet without commentary or color. We filed the red receipt beside the forensics log. We did not hurry. We did not stall. We matched our speed to the truth we carried. That is enough in most storms. You do not outrun wind. You keep your footing. You keep the door latched and the water below the threshold. Then you write down what happened while it is still fresh. That is how rooms stay standing. That is how people do too. We sat with Miriam's draft and sharpened every line. Each sentence carried weight and left no bruise. Return the funds charged to my account, itemized by date. Issue a public apology acknowledging payment, ownership, and conduct. Sign a 12-month no-contact agreement, counsel to counsel. In exchange, I would not file a civil complaint today. If refused, we would proceed on firm legal grounds. This is your off-ramp, Miriam said, even and humane. Take it and spare yourselves, I added, calm and exact. We sent it certified and by email with tracking. The tracker turned from accepted to delivered before dusk. Evan wrote from his personal account at the Gray Edge. He asked for time and promised to talk to her. He did not address charges or edits or the portal. He wanted comfort without repair and peace without cost. I forwarded his note and watched the deadline clock. Miriam filed a courtesy notice on the court calendar. Harper updated the vendor digest and archived new posts. Then another email landed with a lawyer's signature block. It acknowledged receipt and asked for the packet again. We sent it. We logged it. We stayed still. The chessboard felt simple again. Pieces, rules, time. After dinner, I wrote a letter I did not send. I dated it and folded it into the green binder. I addressed it to the woman I had been patiently. You do not have to buy your seat at the table. You do not have to shrink to keep the room from cracking. You do not have to explain what the paper already proves. You have earned silence that protects rather than punishes. Use it like a tool. Use it like a door. Keep the frame square and the hinge oiled and true. If they bring storms, you are allowed to let them pass. You can love a son and still lock your accounts. You can wish him well and still demand clean hands. If he learns, he is welcome to step through later. If he does not, the house remains yours and safe. I signed my name and slid the letter into a sleeve. I labeled it quietly. Boundaries. Personal. Keep. A knock rose from memory and then faded from it. I checked the chain and did not open the door. The deadline stood 2 days out, steady and fair. I wrote it on the calendar and circled it once. I closed the pen and set it next to the phone. The phone stayed dark. The pen gleamed a line of brass. I turned the lamp lower and listened to the house breathe. Not a triumph, not a loss, a clear path forward. 2 choices waited on the other side of silence. Repair with truth, or proceed with the record we had. Both carried consequence. Only one carried respect. Only one ever does. Evan waited by the pier, eyes red, empty, shoulders hunched. I stood beside him, leaving space the wind could hold. He swallowed hard and opened a file on his phone. Recordings played, her voice sweet, then sharp, then ordering transfers. Screenshots showed drafts pushing my email out of portals tonight. Charges and dates lined up across months like marching ants. He said she planned Maldives, using my card and name. He said he froze, afraid to fight and lose her. I listened without touching him, letting the ocean carry noise. He asked me to fix everything, quietly, like before, please. I looked at the waterline and kept my breath slow. You hid behind me, I said, and called it love. He winced and nodded, then said, she hates hearing no. She breaks things when doors stay closed, even reasonable doors. I will not fund that or clean it anymore, ever. He asked what to do if she threatens leaving again. I said, choose honesty, pay debts, return what is stolen. Then call your own lawyer and stop using mine today. I won't rescue you. I'll point to the exit now. He cried quietly and left the pier without promises made. Lila posted again, brighter makeup, harder smile, sharper captions today. She called me controlling, jealous, vindictive, and financially abusive online. She claimed Magnolia Hall was stolen by a bitter mother. She promised exclusive proof coming soon, bigger than shutdown yesterday. The comments cooled, then organized themselves into numbered questions below. Who paid deposits, invoices, insurance, and final retains today exactly? Who attempted transfers and failed device checks in portals repeatedly? Why did policy void without the owner's written consent? Ever. Brands sponsoring her post untagged themselves and backed away quickly. A boutique withdrew a dress loan and removed campaign photos. A florist clarified she never paid and never confirmed anything. Screenshots surfaced showing her messages about using my card frequently. She accused forgery, then deleted, then reposted slightly edited versions. The crowd answered with timestamps, headers, codes, and clauses cited. A planner stitched a montage of the public receipts collected. Her tone frayed, then cracked, then begged for private mercy. I did not engage, like a museum guard watching calmly. She threatened lawsuits she could not afford or comprehend properly. Someone posted courthouse links explaining costs and filing realities, gently. Silence gathered around her, heavy as unpaid invoices everywhere tonight. I drafted one final message with Miriam on speaker today. Subject line read, Notice of no contact and routing instructions. Future contact must go through counsel. Do not call me. Do not text. Do not email. Consider this directive binding. All harassment evidence preserved and mirrored with counsel backups today. All accounts secured, portals restricted, devices logged and archived thoroughly. Delivery requested by certified mail and red receipt confirmations returned. I pressed send and watched the cursor stop blinking finally. Then I built filters that caught their numbers automatically everywhere. I blocked unknown IDs and flagged private callers permanently forward. The house exhaled when the last rule clicked shut, tight. I printed the notice and set it beside keys neatly. I wrote a line by hand beneath the header myself. Respect is required here. Silence is maintenance, not surrender anymore. I filed the page under boundaries and closed drawers gently. Outside, a neighbor's dog shook rain from its ears twice. I made tea and watched nothing urgent happen anywhere today. The quiet remaining felt earned, chosen, and thoroughly mine now. Morning walked in on soft feet and did not hurry. I tied my shoes and stepped into ordinary sunlight outside. The harbor path smelled like salt, cedar, and bread early. I counted benches and birds until my shoulders forgot numbers. A woman waved. We traded weather and small kindness easily. I bought peaches and asked about the vendor's mother recovering. At home, I watered plants and read 2 chapters slowly. The phone face down stayed quiet, like a trained animal today. I organized receipts by month and closed the binder gently. I labeled boxes for donation and stacked them square today. I practiced saying no aloud, then softer, then simpler still. My voice learned the path without breaking against feelings anymore. I cooked soup and cleaned as the broth simmered patiently. I left the porch light warm and the latch firm. I wrote gratitude lines, 5 items, no repeats allowed tonight. I pictured Evan choosing truth and paying his debts himself. I pictured myself steady, generous, and never for sale again. Peace prefers the prepared. I stayed ready and kind daily. Near dusk, my phone shook with Evan's incoming call again. I watched it ring without moving toward the counter twice. I pressed decline and let the room remain quiet inside. A message followed, long and heavy, with tangled apologies tonight. He wrote we made mistakes and asked to talk tomorrow. He offered coffee, daylight, and gentle terms for conversation somewhere. I answered with a link to Miriam's prior letter only. "Take the off-ramp I gave you," I wrote back then. He replied with typing bubbles that never formed words finally. I put the phone down and opened the window wide. Night air carried salt and an unhurried promise inside gently. I lit a candle and watched the flame settle low. I repeated the rule softly until my body remembered everything. Respect first or nothing follows, not even family invitations anymore. The room agreed, and the silence stayed kind tonight too. Morning found me steady, paid up, and finally uninterested in. I wasn't their wallet. I was their wake-up call today. Quiet stayed a tool, not a cage or mask anymore. I locked the door gently and walked toward better weather.